Mr. Ron Raack is up. Morning, Mr. Raack.
Morning.
Name and address for the record, please.
Ron Raack, 10580 Southeast 131st Place, Ocklawaha. Mr. Chairman, would you agree that human beings had certain unalienable rights prior to the writing and passage of the Constitution? Mr. Chairman, would you agree that a power greater than men declared men as free people upon this earth and granted those certain unalienable rights? Mr. Chairman, if a power greater than a human granted these rights, where does another human being get the authority or power to infringe upon certain unalienable rights they had no power to grant? Mr. Chairman, would you agree that the Constitution is simply a document that limits the power of government and lists a certain portion of certain unalienable rights? Mr. Chairman, we are called the United States of America. Can you explain what unites us? Is it not the one document known as the supreme law of the land? The preamble of our Constitution says, "We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity," which just means future generations, "do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America." And today that includes 50 states. Article 6 of the Constitution is known as the Supremacy Clause. And in it, it states that it is the supreme law of the land, and the judges in every state shall be bound thereby, anything in the Constitution or laws of any state to the contrary notwithstanding. And we've gone through this before. If a state passes a law that contradicts the supreme law of the land, that word notwithstanding is a compound word. It means it's without standing. Mr. Chairman, much has been said about states' rights and authority. But are the states limited by any document? And I would refer you to Article 6 of the Constitution because it certainly says that they are. Many bring up the 10th Amendment as the amendment for states' rights. But in the 10th Amendment it says, "The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively or to the people." My question is are those powers already delegated or listed within the Constitution? And if they are, then the states' rights are determined by that document. And here's the issue. How can we possibly be considered the United States of America when each state, and in fact each county and city, are enacting their own laws, thereby violating Article 1, Section 1 of the Constitution, and dividing instead of uniting the states? How can we have different laws in different states and still consider ourselves united? We can't. Again, we the people of Marion County, Florida, demand answers to these questions in a timely manner, as it is we who have political power. And that's found in Florida Constitution, Article 1, Section 1. It says, "All political power is inherent in the people. The enunciation herein of certain rights shall not be construed to deny or impair others retained by the people." And the word others there is referring to other rights. In parting, Mr. Chairman, and I would like an answer to this, what manner of recourse, relief, or resolution do the people have when their rights are violated by the very people who swore an oath to protect and defend those rights? And I'd be happy to discuss this if you guys have.
So, Mr. Raack, I do have a question for you.
Sure.
If you don't mind. You said that we can't have different laws in different states?
That's what the Constitution says, not me. Article 1, Section 1 of the Constitution says all legislative power shall be vested in a Congress, which is the House of Representatives and the Senate.
So how does it do that? I mean, I'm just curious. I mean,
Okay.
help me understand, because it's a great conversation talking about our Constitution. So if it says that all is obliged in the Congress, how does it give states any power then? Because then we would be truly just a federalist government with no state powers.
Listen,
And I thought the states formed the nation
they did.
Right.
And it was under this document.
and gave away certain powers to the federal government, correct?
No.
From the states didn't give power to the government.
No.
Okay.
No, and we have to go back to the supremacy clause, and we've discussed this word supreme more than once. And this is why we have problems with contradictions in laws. And I brought up the Second Amendment as one, a couple years ago. The Second Amendment says the right to bear arms shall not be infringed. Florida Constitution says the right to bear arms shall not be infringed, but then they added on to that, except as shall be regulated by law. And I said, well, which of these two laws do I follow? And the attorney said, we're not here
Even
to.
the Supreme Court has regulated arms at some level. Correct?
No, they have not. No, in fact, the Anton Scalia, who unfortunately is no longer with us, made the determination that the Second Amendment is what it says it is. And that word infringed is probably the most important part of that whole amendment, because it means to what? Inhibit. In other words, anything that I have, any hoop that I have to jump through, or any law that places what I carry, when I carry, how I carry, or where I carry is an infringement upon my right.
At what point does it, I mean, I'm just curious. So would you be okay with, and just out of curiosity, people carrying around RPGs?
Absolutely.
Yeah, just.
Because, well, here's the thing, and
I'm just asking.
Well, but what's the purpose? What is the purpose of the Second Amendment?
To defend from a radical government.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
So that the only way to do that is to have the same firepower that they have.
Right. So we should all get together and make nuclear weapons.
You know what?
I'm just saying. I mean, if that's the case, you can take it to the logical extreme. It's a great question, isn't it?
It's a very good question. Here's the thing. When we start getting into those type of questions, of course, nuclear weapons are a deterrent against other nations and are not against ourselves. And even if they were against ourselves, then, at that point, if we get to that point, it's not going to matter a whole lot anyway. It's really not.
I understand.
But seriously. But the main question is when rights are infringed on, where do we the people go for relief?
I think that's why we have a three-part system, right? You have a body, which is Congress, that makes laws, correct?
Right.
You have a law enforcement agency, which is whether a sheriff's or FBI or whatever level you want.
And actually, the county sheriff actually has the juice, and I don't know if you guys know that or not.
Yeah, no, I understand. Locally, he does.
Well, no, he could kick all the feds out if he wanted to.
Absolutely, but
yeah,
but out of Marion County, not out of some other county. And those are law enforcement folks, right? So you have a group of folks that make laws, you have a group of folks that enforce laws, and then you have a group of folks that test those laws, which is called our courts. And that's the process. That's our American judicial government lawmaking system, right?
It is,
so
absolutely.
If I was a citizen and I felt like the county commissioner or anybody else made laws that were against me, and the law enforcement, if they arrested me, then of course you have the right to a trial, and you have the right to sue if you feel like your rights have been infringed upon, correct?
Absolutely.
Is that not
That's the system.
wonderful system that many other countries
When
don't
it works
have?
well, and when it works correctly, it is the system itself is actually
Well, it
amazing.
will never be perfect, Mr. Raack, because
Right,
we're
no.
a bunch of unperfect people.
No, and I absolutely agree with that. I mean, my goodness, we all do things that are, we all make mistakes. We all do things.
But
that are
there's no
wrong.
better system in the world
No, I would have to agree that the system.
for guaranteeing
Right.
the unalienable rights that
Right.
were endowed by our Creator, not by man.
Right.
Right? So to keep that infringement, there is no better system than the United States of America.
I agree.
So what do we want to do? I mean, I'm just trying to, what is it that you would want this commission to take action on that is not being validated, or where are your rights being infringed that you can't seek justice for?
Well, I could seek justice, but do we really want to go that route? I mean, I've given examples of violation of rights, and, I've really made the comment, just a complete restoration to the Constitution, the way it's written.
Okay.
Okay,
Commissioner Bryant.
but Mr. Raack, what you seem to not bring up are the key provisions specifically recognizing rights of states. And we'll first go to Article 5, which then allows amendments, which would be Amendment 10 and Amendment 11, which allow the states those rights.
All right, but Article 5, you're talking about a convention of states?
Yeah, and
Article 5?
and-
That requires, if I'm not mistaken, two-thirds, or is it two-thirds or
and I
three-quarters
would,
of the states?
I would,
But the very statement you have here, even in your own article, says the power is not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by the states. If it can be prohibited by the states, in its essence, it has right. Right?
Nor prohibited by it.
It says
It.
nor prohibited by it
By
to
it
the
to
states.
In
the
other words, the
states.
Constitution.
no, the
Yes.
power's
No,
not
the
delegated.
it is
It's-
referring to the Constitution.
But
Right.
you,
But the line itself is saying that the state has power where the Constitution is
Silent. Right, exactly.
Correct.
But if it's not silent, and this is, okay, maybe this is where we're having our disconnect.
Right.
Because what I'm saying is the things that the states are doing it's already delegated within the Constitution. Like I brought up Article 1, Section 1, where it says all legislative power. And the word legislative means to make law. That's the definition.
But you don't honestly believe that the state can't make laws.
It's not a matter of what I believe, Mr. Chairman, it's a matter of what is
You
written.
believe the Constitution says the state can't make laws.
That's what is written. All legislative power. The word all, it doesn't say some, it doesn't say most, it says all legislative power shall be vested in a Congress.
But then by principle, the states would have had to cede all power
to the federal
to
government.
the federal government. It's not what it's not what we read in any of the Founding Fathers
Listen,
documents.
No. It says that's where the 10th Amendment comes in.
But it was an amendment. The Constitution, the Founding Fathers never proclaimed
You
that
realize
the
that the-
Constitution
Do you
was
realize
going
that
to
the Bill of Rights
supersede.
cannot be changed? The Bill of Rights, those first 10 amendments cannot be changed. They are written in stone. They cannot be changed. They cannot be
I'm not
amended.
debating that. I'm debating the fact that you say the states have no power or no jurisdiction
No,
over
they
itself.
have power, but that power is limited by the Constitution.
Right, but
That
you
is
just
my
said all
point.
law has to
But
be
that's
created
what,
at the federal level.
But that is exactly what Article 1, Section 1 says.
I don't believe that.
Well,
Okay,
you
I
cannot
understand.
believe it, then you don't believe the Constitution.
But that's not true.
No.
Well, you can't have this both ways.
Mr. Chair.
That's okay. All right.
Mr.
Anyway, were there
Minter?
any? Hold on, guys. Were there any other comments,
I don't
Mr.
want
Raack?
to get in the middle of this.
Anyway, we had a great discussion.
Well,
Thank you for.
But
for
it
making
is
the
what
Constitution
it says
our focus.
it is, and I read it the way it's written, just like the Bible. I don't try to twist it. I just read it the way it's written. All means all to me.
I understand.
Okay.
So then in that right, we would just be turned over to the federal government. So
When
the
it comes-
power
when
that
it-
created.
when it
So
comes
hold on.
to
You just
cre-
said the sheriff had supreme right over Marion County, correct? That
Supreme-
can kick out the feds.
That's right.
Okay. Who created the sheriff? Who gave constitutional law to the sheriff?
The Constitution does
No,
because
no.
he is an
The
elected
state,
official.
The state created the office of the sheriff. Yes, sir. Absolutely.
I can-
all five of us sitting here and all five of the constitutional officers only have power because that power was given to us by the state constitution of Florida, not the United States of America. You can't have it both ways either, my friend.
Oh, yes, I can.
No, you can't.
Because, well, but I'm not trying to have it, no, well, let me rephrase that. I'm not trying to have it both ways. Listen, I understand.
Hey, listen, my wife
understand-
says the same thing, brother. I get it.
No.
I understand. You know?
Listen, I understand the need of local governing, okay? And in fact, in the beginning of our country, they called it Committee of Safety.
Yeah.
They had committees of safety instead of county officials like we do today.
I understand. Commissioner Bryan has one more word for you.
Mr. Raack, obviously, you think that we're violating some of your rights. So what I would appreciate is that you give us a written list of those things that you think we are violating so that maybe we can try to.
But it doesn't matter. We have no legislative power under his thought process.
No, I understand. I'm saying I would just like to know what rights of Mr. Raack's he thinks we're violating.
Okay, I will get that to
Just
you
for
by the
my
end of
own-
business today.
Just for my own knowledge.
Okay,
Yeah,
I'll
so
get
just send it
that.
to Commissioner Bryan, okay?
Well, no, it'd only be fair if I sent it to all five of you
I'm
and the
just messing
attorney
with
as
you, Mr.
well.
Raack.
That's
Thanks
just
for the
out of-
discussion today, though. It all helps us to become better understanding all laws. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate
Thank you,
it.
Mr. Raack.
We had a few folks that